think we're good to go.
Cool.
So much going on the screen. We'll just ignore it.
Sounds good.
But we actually have a visual display that sounds being recorded. One of the podcasts I listen to a lot, they keep hiring people and firing them because they will screw up and they end up having no audio at all.
Oh.
I'm like, how can you not know?
Yeah,
you
need to have a visual cue, or I get it if a file corrupts, something like that, but come on.
Yeah. So, let's see. Yeah. A lot of questions, but just so I know what we're lining up here. Did you listen to the thing I sent you?
I did.
Okay.
I actually, before I came in, was listening to the first little bit of it in the car just to get myself back and remember a few points I wanted to bring up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll talk about that later, but that lets me know what to do. So I guess the first thing I really wanted to get into is one thing I keep hitting everywhere, and pretty common, a strong theme. So I want to make sure we time to discuss it well, is how important enthusiasm is for all of this. If you were to say just a runner, being enthusiastic about it means you show up to the gym often to get good at it. But for this, it's everything. I've been going through a lot of different sources and listening to different people, and it seems like it's maybe only 10% what you're doing, how you're interested in your topic or your script and that, and 90% just how much emotion the person brings to the thing. I've seen a couple examples where people are really thrilling because they're so excited about what they're talking about, or maybe they're depressed, but they have a lot of emotion in it. And other points where someone's talking about a topic I find interesting, but they're so blasé about it that they've managed to take something interesting and make it tedious. So great, that's the result. But I think it's going to be a skill to have that, keep that, and maybe even find ways to generate that.
Absolutely. Passion is one of those things you really can't fake, and it definitely comes across on the screen when you're talking more detached from what it is you're speaking about. People can tell. They can tell in an instant if this is something you don't want to do. They don't want to be here listening to you doing that. The second you're passionate and you're able to talk and reel them into your story, they're invested. I think we are so lucky in that we found something we're passionate about.
Yeah.
So many people do not have that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So when they see someone else with that passion, they latch on to it, and they want that for themselves, and they're invested and want to see you chase your passion because that's what they wish they were doing.
I think that's actually going to make this, no understatement, no overstatement, full-on life-changing. Because doing something you're passionate about, we have to work with other people who are also passionate about it, when we have these discussions, they're generally the most interesting conversation to have all week because we're both really excited. And as we meet more people, as we work on this, because you'd have listeners, but you'll definitely have to have a lot of, collaborators, mentors, other people you work with. And they're going to be excited and passionate about it too. And how fun is that?
Even if you find someone who was passionate about this and lost it, and you're listening to them talk and tell you what they did, you can learn what caused them to get burnt out, and you can try and avoid that to keep your passion going. Just because you're talking with someone who no longer has that passion doesn't mean you can't learn from them.
Have you run into someone like that yet?
I've talked to a few people where a friend of mine ran a podcast with his other friend. The other guy had a child a few months back from it, and because of that is just such a huge time investment, they weren't able to record for so long that he just got it was a buzzkill for him. He lost the passion, lost the motivation to do it because he didn't have anyone to do it with, and just slowly let the show fall apart.
That's not Ben, is it?
No.
Because he's red eye holding on through it, and he sounds
he's
on top of it. I mean,
absolutely.
That would be a good question to ask him when we meet him. Like, how does he maintain that enthusiasm when he's still doing it? You know, because it's one thing to, like, even if you love it so much, if you're physically destroyed, like, you know, we're hungover today, or he's not slept in 3 weeks, you know, you don't feel happy about it right then and there. And he is completely nailing that part of it.
He is such a interesting man to me because he is the most able to go with the flow, down for whatever life throws at him, but at the same time, the most organized person I know. Like, he has a virtual assistant scheduler that he pays for that will, if he doesn't get this task done that's on his calendar for today, like he's supposed to go through and edit 6 episodes or something like that, it will push it onto tomorrow and adjust his whole calendar for however many months out to make sure he gets shit done and gets it done in the order it needs to.
Yeah, I've been getting ads for a artificial intelligence version of that, but like the virtual assistant I have right now, really, like I was expecting it to, has made that big change where every hour I'm doing anything, I have that in my head of like, well, is this worth more or less than what I'm paying that person? And the momentum keeps building. Like, this past 7 months is really awesome.
Glad to hear that's working out. It's astounding to watch that happen and see the changes that it's making.
It's fun. Feels good. I think the house is a good metaphor for it because it's the same house. But if you walk around it, it looks different.
Yes, it does.
I'm the same guy, but I am pretty different, you know?
Absolutely.
So, one thing, if you move this table over, you could have the microphone in front of you more if you want.
Sounds good. That reading a little clear?
Well, you're looking this way, so if you move it to here.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
We're still working on our setup a little bit.
Yeah. I'm glad we have this much good. All of this since day one has been a train wreck, but I'm happy with the train wreck, and it just gets better from that. So.
Oh, absolutely. You have to make mistakes to learn from it, and slowly changing things to find out what doesn't work.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, related to this topic, this such good branding, content creator university thing that I went to on Thursday.
Okay.
So comes back to the house again. My mortgage lender, the broker who got me the lender, was a really interesting guy, you know? Trusted my realtor a lot. That was one of the best times I've done of actually choosing somebody and knowing how to read some good for bad. And he introduced me to a lot of people, and he introduced me to the mortgage broker. And when I met him, immediately it was like, oh, okay, this guy's different than most people. Knows a whole lot of stuff. And this is a great example where he's passionate about that stuff, which makes him really good at it. But also, he's like, oh, this is going to be interesting to talk to him about it because he's actually interested. He's enjoying it.
Sure.
So I asked him like a lot of other questions outside of like, okay, well, this isn't part of the business transaction I'm paying you for, and this is not making you any money, but like, how about this and how about that? He's like, oh yeah, and he's like excited. Spent like an extra hour of his time and gave me all this good advice about what books I should read about investing. That's how you know that book Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I'm familiar with it, but haven't read through it myself.
Okay, I'll send you home with it. I've heard about it so many times. Never bothered to read it until I met him. I was like, okay, well, if this guy in front of my face is this enthusiastic, I'm going to do it. And holy fucking crap, it is a good book.
Okay.
It's great. It comes back to the theme I'm seeing everywhere, like with this flexibility guy. If you get really good at one thing, you get so good, it automatically makes you good at multiple things. So that book is so bloody good at teaching you about, finances. It's actually good at 2 other things. It is one of the best examples of storytelling ever, which is why I want to talk to you about it. It's so good. And it's also dips into like, purpose of life stuff, which you don't need to know to make money. But anyway, so try to like, we'll have to like come back to that later because it's such a good storytelling book. But so he goes on, yeah. And after I sign the paperwork, I get these emails from him, you know, just normal, like, hey, if you know anyone with who needs a mortgage, keep me on your mind, yada. But he's taking it to like the top level. So instead of just an email like, hey, or here's my Facebook or whatever, he puts together like a 3-minute video clip for every single email he sends out. And every time he's a different human in it. I'm like, so like there's one, like when I met him, he's like, you know, Franklin, you know, upper middle class, pretty Southern dude that, you know, like that mix between halfway between cowboy and, you know, Wall Street that that you and I are pretty familiar with.
Absolutely.
Love it. I mean, I like talking to the guy. But his clips, like one, he'll be like, you know, some like, you know, street kid from Brooklyn. You know, another one, he's like full on cowboy. Another one, he's like, you know, a basketball fan, all sorts of stuff. And like, it cracks me up. But like, you know, he's trying to
keeps you on your toes.
Well, he's not doing it as a joke. He's trying to hit every single demographic.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not like, I'm not explaining this very well, but he's not going like over the top with it. He's trying to like, okay, yeah. So it's not like, he just dresses different for each one, you know? So there will be, theoretically, every demographic will see one video like, oh, that guy, okay, I want to watch that. Because you see the thumbnail before you open it, you know? And you ignore the things you don't give a shit about. And you see the one that kind of looks like your type of person, like, oh, click, let me see what this, you know? And I was like, this is weird. But I bet it's really effective. And from the one conversation I had with him, like, he seems like the guy who would be able to pull that off of like, this isn't just some goofy thing. This is actually intelligent and effective. So,
interesting.
A couple of weeks ago, I got email like, oh yeah, we're doing this content creator university thing. And I'm like, normally I wouldn't give a shit, but I've seen what this guy does. I can tell he's already good at it, you know? And it'll be fun also getting behind the scenes of like, how did you do this, man? Because it's pretty fun. So the first one, for some reason, this didn't happen. And on Thursday, you know, I was just really like sitting down. I was supposed to go somewhere else. And I go, oh, fuck, it's 4 o'clock. So I log in, join in. And it was pretty interesting. There's some notes I got somewhere because he was talking about video, you know. But there was this is a difficult thing because there's so many directions to go with this, and I want to hit all of them. But one, there's enthusiasm because he was very smart, knew a lot, really good ideas. He and his partner were bored out of their minds. There was no enthusiasm there. A lot of the people on the call were enthusiastic, I guess, but I would just pay money. It's fake enthusiasm, forced enthusiasm. And we're sitting there in a virtual room discussing something I care about, and they're giving me good knowledge of what I'm happy to have. But the way, their tone of voice, I have that feeling that I'm being sold something, and I need to run.
I got you. Hit that flight or fight response. Goodness.
So between the two of those, it was such a hammer home of how important your sincere
being
enthusiasm
genuine
is.
with it.
So, you know, that's kind of like something you have to retrofit, where if you are bored or you just had a fight with your wife and you're stressed out, you know, if you fake being enthusiastic, that's not going to work either. You have to actually find ways to get yourself into a good state. So I've been thinking about that, and I have a couple ideas, but I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, so run the question by me one more time just to make sure I fully understand what you're asking of me here.
Yeah, so if you're having, or if you're in like a really shit mood, or just have completely burned out, let's say like more of a temporary thing.
Okay.
You know? So you're in a shit mood. How would you get yourself ready to do a show what you had scheduled that you have an appointment for?
Honestly, I would relate this more to going into work at the bar.
Oh, yeah.
Hungover, something like that.
Fuck, you were the right guy to ask this question.
It happens. There's definitely days where I go to work and I'm not in a good mood when I'm driving to work. some minivan going 20 miles under the speed limit, and I'm just, get out of the fucking way, I need to get to work.
Yep.
And without fail, within the first, I don't know, half an hour that I am at work, someone comes in and starts asking me questions. And at first, I'm a little annoyed I just get your drink and sit down. I don't want to be here. I'm in a bad mood. But by about the second or third question, I'm going, okay, this person actually cares about something I care about. They don't deserve a shit person. I'm excited now. Who cares what happened earlier? I'm here in this moment now with this person who's excited to talk to me about something I'm excited to talk with them about.
Yeah.
The rest doesn't fucking matter anymore. It fixes itself 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah. That's both. That's beautiful. 'Cause on one hand, you're getting the fire handed to you by someone else, and when it's a customer who's not working, volunteered to show up because it was convenient for them at that time and the mood, and they're drinking, they're
paying me to tell them about something I'm passionate about. What part of this is going to make me in a shit mood again? This is great. You guys are actually paying me. I would do this shit for free on a weekend.
So being around people who are, sincerely
Absolutely.
enthusiastic.
You need to pick the right people, I think. And hey, even if it's you're doing a show like this, or as your friend was doing, and you're just in a bad mood right before it, be careful who you select to bring on the show with you. Have a good friend who's excited and interested in the topic, in the staging area for it, something just to help them ignite that fire for you if you need it. That would be one of the lessons I would carry through on this.
I could see that, man, that one guy who lost his partner, I could see why that would just make a huge difference.
Yeah, it really just deflated him. It really did.
Okay, let's dive a little deeper then. What if you're doing a solo project? You don't have anyone else.
Honestly, even like the podcast, where it was something where the first episode, it took me, I think, 2 years from the starting idea to actually publishing the full first episode. And that was because I would do 10, 30 minutes of work on it, drop it, put it on the back burner for a week or two, go back, do another 10 minutes of work, and I was purely self-motivated, and if I had a bad day, I didn't work on it. After that first episode, people who truly enjoyed and wanted to see me do more of this, like yourself, would reach out to me and ask me how's next episode going, when are we going to see it, what's it going to be about, and just that action alone, I would go back and start writing again that same night, or I would go and try and make progress that very next day. Even though they're not at all involved with the show other than listening, them wanting more absolutely motivated me.
So you feed from your audience too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're solving, man, I always expect good stuff from you. So you're solving all of this. So if you are doing a dual project, you feed from each other. If you're doing a solo project, you can pick your time. So you're not forced to do it when you're in a bad mood.
You're not, but like I said, there's so many people out there, and just knowing that they want to hear what's next. I don't want to let them down. That's a big motivator for me.
This comes back to a general trend that I've been seeing, where it's so important to protect your happiness. It sounds weird. Everyone's trying to be happy, but this week was such a concrete example where I had I told you that really awkward date on Saturday, and that put me in a shit mood for like a day or two. and it, like no one's fault. It's like, man, like, we're both really interesting people. Why is this so not fun? Like that's like what the fuck? I need to crack. But anyway, that's not the point. Like so that put me in a weird mood for like 2 days, and I was like, all the cool shit I work on wasn't getting done. I was out doing stuff, but like the creative thing, I can't do the creative thing when I'm not, feeling good. So I actually had booked some other girl who was going to fly in from LA and stay with me for a couple days. And I, like, after I started feeling good again, I was like, this is too much of a waste of time. Like, I'm alive for this period of time, but so much of what I could do and who I could be and who I could become is lost. And that's too valuable for that. So, like, I'm looking at it. I can't guarantee I'm going to have a good time with this girl. It's Russian roulette, and
Sure.
it's not worth the risk. So, like, you know what? Cancel it. Not doing it. Because if you don't show up, I can guarantee I'm in a good mood. I guarantee I'm going to get a lot of stuff working done that gives me a lot of meaning that I'm passionate about. Best case scenario, she shows up, we have a lot of fun. I don't get anything done, but I'm in a good mood. She leaves, I'm still in a good mood. Okay, but like 50-50, I'm going to have a horrible time the entire time. It's costing me money to have a bad time. And then if she's after she leaves, I'm going to feel crappy and not do anything productive for like another couple days. It's the worst kind of hangover. So I'm being a lot more cautious about, avoiding things that could, bother me.
I see that. Absolutely. There's one point you made in there, which was you can't force creativity, something along that line. I forget what your exact words were, and I'll have to send you this email, but it was from the school, the Whiskey Academy, and really interesting couple paragraphs on the idea of treating creativity almost like a wolf. It's not something you can fully control. You can't just sit down and say, I'm going to be creative now. But it talks about how you can build the right environment to make it a welcome home to where the wolf will want to come out and want to be there. So it's just putting yourself in that right environment, helping to coax that creativity out of you that way.
I love the idea, and I also love the fact that your whiskey guys chose a wolf as a thing that you wanted to have come into your house.
Yeah, I know.
It's not a cat, it's not a kitten, it's not a dog. I'm like, let's get the fucking wolf because we're drinking whiskey today.
If it makes you feel any better, the two animals that they talk about a lot is a bear and an eagle.
Mm-hmm.
And unofficially, the third one is if a whiskey is very smooth, you say it's dolphin smooth.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. I think, and I've been thinking about it for a long time, that in a lot of ways you have to be your own parent. You hear that phrase, people treat others better than they treat themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm the same way. I forget, and routinely, like once a year, I have to remind myself to think, okay, if I was someone else, what advice would I give myself? So in this case, I think of, if you had a kid and you wanted to grow up happy and smart and strong, you would be very careful about like who his social influences were.
No, even just making sure that they're eating right and healthy, that they're getting outside, they're not just being a hermit indoors watching Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Just even those simple acts of caring for yourself make a big difference.
So, doing all the health stuff, and that's making a huge impact. That's a long build on the like immediate day-to-day things, when it comes to things like who I hang out with now, or like the most obvious thing is, I think is the hole that most people fall into, is dating. So if I wouldn't recommend this type of person or this environment for like a kid I was raising, I was like, well, that's because he's like, oh, she's hot. It's hot. That's the only argument I hear all the fucking time with my friends. Like I have a group of friends I hang with for like just going out and drinking and stuff. Every so often I have to hit on a girl just to prove to them that I'm straight and that I can. It's like, I don't want to, because I know what drama there's going to be from her.
Yep.
But just to prove a point to these guys, get them off my back.
It's not worth it.
We went to the Rose Festival yesterday. And they're like, why aren't you wearing the cowboy hat? You'll get more attention, all this stuff. I'm like, I am off the clock today. I'm loving my rhythm right now. If you even gave me the perfect woman right now, I wouldn't have time. I don't want to take time away from this. Maybe like, in 6 months or a year. But I look around like these people are all the drunk shit showgirls. I think,
No, that's not the time or place.
So they'll say like, oh, well, maybe she's cool. There could be a chance, and she's hot. I'm like, if you had a kid, now saying maybe this person that he's dating might be cool, but the odds are pretty high it's not. I'm like, no, we don't do that game. I wouldn't have to expose my children to people that are really high probability to be a good influence.
That being said, though, stay open to those unique possibilities, and you'd be amazed how often things happen in the most unexpected ways. I mean, I found Ashlyn on Tinder.
Mm.
I was not expecting or looking for that. It's Tinder.
It's very true. I don't understand how anyone meets someone good on Tinder.
I didn't either. I literally had the app for, I think, 1 or 2 days because my friend made me drunkenly download it with him. And she was, I think, one of 3 girls that actually messaged me on it. And she was the only one I went out on a date with from it.
Well, this is another thing, too, where the apps, they actually have an algorithm that they give you the best people at first and then really quickly start giving you shit.
Mm.
So everybody I know because like, I dated this girl back in California, and her ex was the first guy she ever met online. I'm like, man, I like went on 100 dates and I hated everybody. How are you so lucky? Like, no, the first ones are the only good ones. And then after that, you might as well just delete it. There's a whole lot of marketing implications in that, but you got a point there. I still come back to online dating's low reward for me.
Absolutely.
And in person, let me know what you think of this, but I believe right now that somebody that you're going to have a good time with will make it really easy for you. So if you have to go up and force yourself into her social circle, get her phone number, and then like pursue her, like, oh, I'm calling you up, like, okay, when we going? And like, if you have to do that, it's really high. You're not gonna have a good time, and it's gonna be.
Oh yeah. No.
But if she's like, because the whole thing like women don't approach, they do something. They make it really easy to open the door.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, my opening line to Ashlyn on Tinder was, "Hello, how are you now?"
Mm.
That was all I said. And just opened the door for conversation. It wasn't a shitty pickup line. I didn't need to do anything like that. I've tried those pickup lines, everything like that in the past. Sure, they might work and get you a fun night or two, but just having an easy conversation and building a real connection with someone is going to be so much more effective. That's
a really, really good example because that was a whole thing. We like, oh, well, you got to learn how to like say something really interesting so she'll say more than, a one-word answer. And then
just be interested
you get
in
more
her.
women, but you get the really boring women. Like you managed to cover for how boring she was. It's like, if you don't do that, like, oh, it's like, how are you? Fine. Like, okay, well, this is going to be horrible.
That's true. And you'll definitely find the ones who want to talk with you. And those are the ones that I spend more time with. The people who say fine and then go back to doom scrolling on their phone. Okay, you're not here right now. That's fine. I don't need you to be here right now with me. I can go do something else.
Right. And I think a lot about everything in life. You want a chair, not a stool. You should have 4 legs, not 3. If you can't take one thing away and have it still stand, you shouldn't be there in the first place. So if you have to do all this entertaining to get a friend or a girl interested to have a good time or whatever, and what's going to happen the one day that you're tired or sick? That's gone and everything falls apart because there was only 3 legs of the stool. But if, you're good, she's good, and it's so easy for it to work. You don't need to put in any effort. The days when things are rough, you have that extra to lean on, and it'll still be fine then.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to grab another drink.
Go for it.
This is healthy.
Glad to hear something is.
It was so weird. It was like from 3 to 7,
You remember the whiskey festival you went to last year, and you sent me the picture of it again this year?
Yeah, it was the same day. Otherwise, I would have gone to it.
So, I actually was given a ticket to it the day beforehand, a VIP ticket just given to me. So I said, okay, fuck it, I'll go.
You went to that yesterday?
Yeah, went to that.
Oh man, if I'd known, I would have ditched that and gone with you.
It was one of those so last minute things. I was just like, yeah, sure. Let's just roll the dice, see what happens, and it'll be a fun time. And it was. Made some great connections, and hopefully gonna get brand or two into the bar now for a tasting, because there's one or two that I'd love to have you try at some point. But I ended up meeting a friend there, and he tried to keep pace with me when he normally drinks 2 times a month, and that's normally a drink, maybe 2. Didn't work out for him.
No.
He kept up for a little bit, and then very quickly did not. Ended with the paramedics helping escort him down the 5 steps to get to the car to get away from this.
Oh, poor man.
Yeah, it was a mess. So it was just one of those, okay, yeah, take care of yourself. You don't need to drink that much. I feel like the first time anyone goes to one of these events, they want to try everything, and they're so excited, and there's not much else to do. So you end up just hopping from booth to booth. And of course, he's not just trying 1 or 2 bottles at them like I am. He's going, okay, I'll try this and this that Ryan's trying, but I see you have a cocktail as well. And, oh, you have some kind of moonshine? What's that about? All right. Yep, I know where this is going. You're on your 3rd blackberry whiskey sour from Corsair, and you've had, I don't even know, it was like a spiked, it looked like, have you seen those pouches of applesauce for children that are like a squeezed tube, and it has a little nozzle at the end that they put in their mouth?
Yeah.
Picture that, but pina colada. It was just, okay, this is made for drunken adults who cannot hold a glass anymore.
I never thought of that.
God, this is such pathetic.
That's the form they were selling it?
That's how they were. It literally looked like the applesauce things, and I can pull up a picture and show you exactly what I'm talking about.
I dated a
but
diabetic,
it's a
so I know.
pina colada that's just got a double shot of vodka in it or something, and gonna get you fucked.
You all have so many interesting perspectives on the same things. I love going to Winners and Losers, and they have those kicking it coolers, which are Capri Suns with booze in it. And I'm like, oh, that's a cute little fun thing. I enjoy that. I never thought like, oh yeah, that's so you're so drunk, you drop the glass, it doesn't break and spill.
Yes, that is the safety net for the bartender who doesn't want to have to clean up. And that's going to save the bar money on not replacing glasses. You can take it to the beach or something, then, is what a lot of like the canned wines are doing now, is they're saying, oh, you can take us to the pool, you can take us to the beach, because you don't need to worry about not being allowed glass. You can just drink this wine from a can.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're doing, but at the same time, you're saying that your audience shouldn't be trusted with glass because they will break it on the beach drinking this much wine.
Some people aim for that.
That's where I think boxed wine came from. And actually, I saw something that was so bad at a liquor store one time. I still can't believe this was a fucking product. And who in their right mind is this aimed for? Instead of boxed wine, it was a boxed cocktail, pre-mixed already, liquor in it and everything, for Negronis. Who is buying a full box of Negronis? If you're having a party and there's 5 guys who all like to drink Negronis, I guarantee you over half of them know how to make a Negroni. It's not a hard cocktail. Very easy to make. You don't need much tools. I've seen people just get 3 airplane bottles, dump it in a glass,
Yeah.
swirl it around with their finger, and it's a decent Negroni.
Mm-hmm.
What is your target market here?
There's about to be said for portability, though. Like, canoe trips, I love. And hypothetically, if I wasn't getting so shit-faced I would drop things, because believe me, I am. If I wasn't, I still wouldn't want to have these bottles of glass, and I wouldn't, if it was just boxes, I wouldn't want to have more than one box. I'd want to have one thing to carry, one hand, my other hand's holding, the oar or the canoe
Have
or
you
something.
had a Negroni, though?
I hate them, but...
The only people who drink them, they're not outdoorsy people who are going canoeing. They're hipsters in brick buildings who think that beards are a social statement, not just...
Yeah, that's weird.
It's that type of person. And I guarantee you, half of them think they know how to bartend and know how to make a mediocre Negroni at the worst.
Okay, this is a demographic I entirely need you to explain to me, because I assume that these type of people, they love hiking, so portability would be a big thing, but they're generally a complete confusion to me.
They like to look like they hike and are outdoorsy. I have never seen one actually on a trail once.
What the hell is up with that? At the thing yesterday, and good God, I wish I'd gone to your thing and said, I was inviting everyone and no one said anything. I guess I didn't contact with you. I was so pissed I had to go see something else. But there's a guy there who looked exactly like me, and I'm talking to him like, oh, you're a hipster. And I'm like, what? You're like fake doing this.
You're
don't like guns.
appropriating our culture right now.
Yeah, that's true. But like, I'm talking with my one friend about guns and trucks, and he's getting offended. I'm like, what the fuck? You look like us. You're
Yeah,
like,
why are you...
like, are you faking this? What is so? Explain the hipster to me, because I did not know they don't go hiking. I thought they legit did.
I've never once seen one out hiking. I've never once seen one at a park. I've never once seen one who actually had worn down their jeans or had dirt on them. It was all just fabricated because they like the aesthetic of it.
So, you know them well enough that you said you believe they all know how to make cocktails?
I guarantee you at least half of them think they know how to.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean they're good at it. There's probably a couple who are. I've known hipster bartenders, sure, they can make a good drink. But it's almost like the people who chase after the crazy hopped IPAs and...
Yeah.
Okay, this is undrinkable to anyone other than the people who are chasing after this sort of thing.
Yeah. What was it called? Acid jazz?
Yep. I don't get it. I don't understand them.
I know they're not my vibe, but I literally didn't understand them. You actually know what's going on.
I don't. I've just had to be around a couple of them, and they annoy me in that they're pretending to be something they're not, to the point where they have themselves fooled almost.
Yeah.
To where they have certain beliefs, and rather than embracing those, they want to look and act a certain way that's not in line with their beliefs. At least that's from my experience. I could be completely mistaken, and I have not immersed myself in hipster culture.
I'm curious how you even know this much, but...
I talk with a lot of people.
Oh, fuck yeah, I keep forgetting that. This is why you're such a good gold mine of shit. I'm just gonna have to put on top of my notes every time we do this. Ryan worked in a bar for years. That explains a whole lot of things. But this is really insightful. The idea that, I can't put it as well as you put it, but that they don't know what, they're pretending to like something that's not even...
They like the image of something, they don't necessarily like what all comes with it.
Right, and that comes with the whole stuff of, like, I've seen that in the culture nonstop of, I'm going to, the standard, like, feminist woman. Like, oh, I think I like this. I'm going to do all this. I'm going to be incredibly passionate about it. I'm going to be so loud about it. I'm going to be ordering everyone else to do it too. But they're actually not even enjoying it. It's not even what they like. It's this... phony's not the right word for it. It's like you're putting on somebody else's, personality instead of exploring your own.
Honestly, to circle back to something we had talked about earlier, one of the things that I truly believe about people like that is they have not found something to be passionate about, but they've seen something that maybe angered them or someone else was very passionate about, and politics is a gold mine for that sort of thing. So you see a lot of people attracted to it trying to chase and get a passion themselves, even though it's not truly there.
So they're kind of adopting a passion from some group or some
They're
organization.
attempting to do that, yeah, and it's you can see through it really quickly because it doesn't line up with how they're acting, how they look. It feels incomplete. It feels very thin, and it doesn't feel like you're talking to a person when you're having a conversation about the thing they're supposedly passionate about.
Yeah, that's a really good observation.
It feels like you're reading a pamphlet rather than talking to a person.
That's exactly. Each year I have like a theme, and last year's was politics are not a personality. Even when I'd go to my right-wing events where everyone there agrees with me, it was exactly like you said pamphlet. I was like, it's like reading a blog. I can hear whose voice you are repeating. You don't have any nuanced thoughts
It's not
of
your own thoughts, yeah.
It's
just
boring.
regurgitating something that someone smarter than you, who cares more about this than you, already said. And great, if you agree with it, that's fine. But that you need to have more to it than that. Be your own person. Be unique. Be special. Chase something. Do something wild.
And that's where it gets to, being unique. I think the source comes from that, where if you can't see some parts you disagree with, or a different nuance or take, where like, actually, I feel, you're not really doing it. You're not really thinking it. And that makes you not be a team member. And that's one of my biggest passions in life is teamwork, where you have people are different, and together we either learn from each other or just we have these separate skill sets which combined are really more efficient than if we're all half-assed at everything. So being able to be like, oh, I like most of this, but I think maybe we should probably change this or that. I'm just going to keep going. Anytime I do something really important and I'm in a position where I'm able to do this, I ask somebody, tell me 3 good things about Hitler. And if they can't, I don't trust them. If they go all out about it, okay, maybe that's another issue.
Yep. There's 2 ends of the spectrum on that one.
Yeah, then I'll have to switch, like, okay, tell me 3 good things about Obama. But the point is, if you can't see...
Tell me 3 bad things about Gandhi.
Yeah, like, if you can't see the pros and the cons of even the things you hate and love, then you don't know them, you're not giving an honest answer, and, you're not like a real person. I can't work with that.
I mean, even some people will say 3 good things, but you can tell right away just from the phrasing it's something they've heard somewhere else before. Like, at least Mussolini got the trains running on time. Everyone has heard that phrase how many times?
That's why I asked for 3.
That's not your own original thought. Come on, let's try again.
All right. Is there anything you want to talk about that, or can I move on to the next thing?
We can move on to the next thing.
Okay. I want to make sure we hit the 2 main points. Your podcast and my podcast.
Yes.
So,
Excited for some feedback.
I am, and you are too. Man, it was weird that you said, like, I didn't really think it was very good. Man, I liked it. I am sad that you're taking a break. It's the right call. It's the right call.
It'll be better in the long run.
I wanted to ask you, just like this last episode, how much, because I know this is a great example. You had the fire of the things going on with your whiskey classes and everything. Not a lot of time to do it, and it was still incredibly enjoyable. How much time did you put into this last episode compared to before?
Honestly, I probably did this in maybe 3-4 hours.
Fucking nice.
It was so last minute. It was so rushed. It was so sloppy. I think the only actual sound effect I put in it, other than the music, was the confetti streamer noise.
That was very Ryan.
Yes, it had my definite dry humor to it, but
I like
there
that.
was so little effect actually to put you in the story other than my words. It felt like I was not staying true to the spirit I was trying to create with the show when I first started.
I would say that the music and stuff is nice and helps, but you're so good at storytelling that completely carries it.
That's absolutely the main part. And hey, I'll be happy if we'll call this a 70%. It was great. Even in 80%, I got to be. I want to get this up to 100. I want it to be great. I want it to be so engaging. I want you to feel like you're there. You hear the snow crunching with every step as you're in this journey. I want you to be there.
You might have similar podcast tastes to my friend Chris. I'm going to want to put you guys together someday. But what do you think about the choice, the trade-offs between quantity and quality? If you could put out a 7 out of 10 every week, and again, 7 out of 10 in your mind, which is very harsh, versus putting out a 10 out of 10 only once a month or every 3 months.
I think it's a definite balancing act because if you're doing mediocre to good, but you're spitting it out a lot, yeah, people are going to be for it at first, but they're going to be overwhelmed with how much content it is, and they're not going to be highly motivated to listen through every single one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're putting out something really good, but it's only once a year, they're not going to be primed and looking out for that necessarily. You don't have the budget to do a big reveal trailer, and you're not Netflix dropping another season of Stranger Things where people are going to be talking about it and it's going to be everywhere overnight.
Yeah, even Stranger Things, they have a massive budget to, tell everyone.
Absolutely. We don't have that. So we need to somehow hit the right consistency of putting it out to where people are wanting more. They want what's next, but also to where it's good enough to where it motivates them to listen to it and not just flooding them with content that they're like, oh, I'll get around, or okay, I have time, I'll listen to this episode, but I'm too behind and I'm not going to go back and listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to avoid happening.
I feel really heavy that the quantity is super important. Frequency, that's a better word for it.
Yes.
And I hear that from so many sources.
It definitely helps with algorithms and things like that and getting it out there.
The most important thing I got from that content creation university thing was the guy says that there's a huge part of the algorithm where if you put out something every single day for 30 days, across all platforms, the algorithm will go, oh, this looks like it's professional. The guy wouldn't have enough time to do this much and have a day job. So we're just going to assume that it's really high quality and promote it to everybody. On top of that, also, there's a good chance that this guy's doing it for a living. So he's going to want to invest in us, and he'll buy advertising space and other stuff. So that gets you pushed to the front of the line really hard. So he's actually doing a thing right now where he kind of blocked off some vacation days and moves things to his schedule. So he will do this for 30 days just to see what the result is.
Interesting. I look forward to hearing how that works for him. And one of the ideas I had played around with and other people have brought up with me is recording a full season and just dropping whole season all at once and having there be 10 episodes that you can listen to right away.
Interesting.
I don't think I like that idea, but doing something like that and stringing it out over several days to get the algorithm to value your content a little more might be a worthwhile strategy.
I would love to look into the research and find if it's yes or no, but my experiences tell me that, having it all at once isn't useful. It's really hardcore on the frequency. I come back to everything connects together, which is so much fun with this. The whole ketamine thing. Mm-hmm. Did we talk about neuroplasticity?
I I don't think we did, but I'm vaguely familiar with the concept of the more you do something, it's like stretching a muscle. You get more flexible with it, but also you need to have it be able to come back to place in order to get that same reaction.
Hmm. So like the part of this that's key for this idea is the more you do or specifically think one thing, the more easier it gets to think that again. So you get these like habits, that's how you can drive from here to like from work to home without really thinking about it. It's just become a routine in your brain. And, the whole point of ketamine was like just pop you out of that so you have everything with fresh eyes. But I think having listening one day for 7 days or every week for a couple of months, gets that habit in there. And even if it's not there's a lot of things that aren't super great that people do. Like, they're good enough to enjoy it, but it's become this comforting habit. And the fact that they know it's going to be there at that time, I think gives them a lot more joy than just the thing itself, but also makes it more, let's just go talk about addiction because that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely. I can see that being, again, everything seems to be a balancing act in my mind. You're trying to find that happy medium to where people still want this, they want to engage, be interactive with it, but you're not flooding them, you're not overwhelming them, you're not making it seem like a chore anymore.
Chore for you or chore for them?
Yes.
Both.
Absolutely. Because I will get burned out if this starts feeling like a job that I'm not getting paid for.
Because I know Rogan puts out way more content than I ever listen to, and that doesn't bother me at all. It's nice to have more than I need, and then I pick the highlights. I would be curious. This would be something maybe we should do A/B testing on, but it's this constant struggle between you want to retain your current people, but you want to expand and get more people. And I think frequency really helps you retain people. But pushing the quality is how you get new people.
Absolutely. That and doing things like collaborations, working with other people, you need to try and get yourself out to as many audiences as you can and hope that they enjoy your content, that they enjoy your personality, and will come join your tribe as well.
Let's see. I wanted to make a note to directly say, like, even this last one, which doesn't live up to your standards, was so enjoyable that, like, I'm glad you're working on something new because, I would say that this is something that would get in the bucket of something culturally and, like, meaningfully important. There's no rewards when we die. It's not like you accomplished this. So check mark. It's just we do these things and it's enjoyable and we're doing what we should be doing instead of wasting our lives. And this 100% is in that bucket.
I certainly think so. And I know I'm not going to be here forever, so having a little bit of me be out there to hopefully continue to entertain and talk about the thing I spend so much of my life talking about already, I absolutely hope this outlives me.
It adds to our culture, man. I saw something with Shackleton on it. And I forget what the product was, but immediately that whole story popped in my mind, and like I'm smiling about it. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff behind this. Before it, like, yeah, it's a dude. My brother likes it a lot. Like, it's so much different now for me.
Shackleton is still just such a good story. The amount of people who I showed that first episode to who have asked me for a glass of it, it is a $25 bottle of blended scotch. It is not expensive. If you're hanging out at my apartment and you want me to pour you a glass of whiskey, there's $200 bottles in my collection.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things to try, but you're asking for the $25 one. That is how good that story is. that is the type of stories, that is the type of quality I want to continue to bring.
Yeah. My brothers have told me that story so many times, and I've been bored out of my mind every time. Yours stuck with me. Yours is the one that I actually remember the guy's name now.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
So I wanted to ask you, man, my notes are getting a little jagged from here on. Are you researching or, the balance of time between researching stuff and releasing? So you have already, I feel like you have the research done for all of these things.
I vaguely know the story, so it's just looking up dates, facts, getting some hard information to add into it. There's a few stories that I'm actually researching on at a time. It's never just one because I love stories. This is what I am so passionate about is I went to an estate sale yesterday in the morning and found a bottle of Jim Beam that was from 1967. And immediately was just going, oh my God, this has the tax seal on it. This has this amazing picture. This is so great. I can't wait to look up exactly what year it's from. I can't wait to look up what they were celebrating, what this was for, what was going on. Just seeing an old bottle got me so excited, and I paid $4 for it.
Well, I mean, the metaphor I like to think of is, you love Ashland, right?
Absolutely.
It would cost way more money to get an hour of Taylor Swift's time. But who do you want to spend your hour with?
Oh, her.
Yeah.
100%.
So I think everything makes more sense when you look at the world if you were a hypothetical billionaire. Like, what would you do? Because
honestly, I'd pay to have her spend an hour with Taylor Swift because I know how much that would mean to her.
Right. But, like, the element I'm getting at is there's this thing of love that if you removed all the barriers of money, and that's the lazy way to prioritize things. But if you had all the money in the world, like, well, you love that bottle. Like, that's exciting. Even if you could have everything, nothing can add the things that are special and good about that bottle to a different bottle just because they, spent more time on it.
It's one of those things I just love digging into. So I've got, I think, 80-something tabs open on my phone right now, and probably half of those are bottles of whiskey. That is not counting my laptop. It is, I open it up and unlock it, and it sounds like a helicopter trying to take off most days.
I know that sound.
Yeah, I believe you do.
So this is another thing where, like, the whole virtual assistant's been so useful, where I'm planning a trip to Scotland so I can start working on the accent and all that stuff. And, of course, I should just hand this to my assistant and have them plan it out for me. And I'm like, no, I want to look this up. I will enjoy doing the research on this. And that makes it so much more clear what is bringing me joy out of my life and what is just a task.
It's also one of those things where it's so hard to explain to someone what to look for.
That's how you know it's yours.
Absolutely. I'm assuming it'd be the same way with you planning the trip to Scotland, is there'd be certain things you'd read that would stand out specifically to you that might not to your assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm researching a bottle, there's going to be little details of that story, like they had to kill the cat.
Not when I'm taking a drink, man. I'm going to
Sorry, I got you on that one.
I fucking love the bagpipes too, though.
Little things like that I'm going to pick up on and go, okay, this is just a footnote in everyone else's story, but it could have so much more of an emotional impact. I can make this something more for the story. And one of the things I want to get into in a second is you had me draw character diamonds for the show.
Yeah.
And we'll circle back to that. But just keep in mind the idea of the cat, because this is something that I did not do intentionally, but I'm going to try and do more intentionally moving forward.
You've said that before, and I feel like that is literally the purpose of life. The things that you realize are so important for you that you were doing without thinking, and then taking it and doing it intentionally.
I struggled so hard with this fucking character diamond. It wasn't until Friday driving home from the bar at night that I finally clicked and went, oh my god, I know what my character diamond is for the show now.
Yeah.
Should we get into that rather than just holding it over? Or do you want to talk about your show first?
We'll come back to this later.
Okay.
Do we got time for everything? How are we doing
yeah,
on that?
We'll be fine.
Good.
So, in my head, I was trying to go, okay, even I could make a character diamond about how the show is now and hope it lines up with something good, or I could pick out a famous character that the show already leans towards and really dial it in and make it so that way it's as iconic as this character was. So I was going, okay, what are some famous movies out there with strong characters that I enjoy, and which one of them would kind of line up with the show? Well, Indiana Jones, love Indiana Jones, one of my favorite movies. It doesn't really feel like Indiana Jones. It doesn't feel like it's something he would talk about. It doesn't quite line up. Okay, Star Wars, Han Solo, Luke, no, that's not right. Princess Bride, not that much of a comedy, no. James Bond. Okay, I like the elegance of James Bond. I like that he has the serious tone. But at the same time, I'm making these dry jokes, and it doesn't feel quite right, but my head keeps going back to James Bond.
He has a dry sense of humor.
A bit.
All of the humor is, not a lot, but all of it is very dry.
James Bond was the closest thing I could think of, but it still just wasn't fitting quite right for me. I don't talk like I'm James Bond. I don't talk like I'm trying to write for James Bond. This isn't quite me. This isn't quite my style. But driving home on Friday, I had the realization of James Bond isn't the character diamond for the show. It's for the audience. I want to make it feel like you're James Bond in these stories. So what does James Bond need for every story?
Hell yeah.
And then my mind went to, okay, well, there's Q with his dry, witty humor, giving you these gadgets, and every one of the gadgets is Chekhov's gun. You know it's going to be important at some point. So even in Shackleton, the cat having to be killed off, well, that's going to be important later on the line, because now he's worried that McNish is out to get him and never truly forgave Shackleton for this, and that's why he took McNish with him on the one part of the journey. There's World War that we're talking about right at the beginning that's just about to break out when we're talking about where this falls in the timeline.
Yeah.
And it becomes important later on because that's why he's struggling to get a boat to get back and rescue his men. Okay, I need to think about these things as my gadgets, introduce them early with a little bit of witty humor, and that will be important later on. But I can't just be Q. That wasn't quite it. What if I do the whole MI6? I'm giving James Bond all the resources, all the gadgets. I've got the prim and proper 007. This is your mission statement that that M has for him. That's going to be the intro now. Is my mission. This is your mission if you choose to accept it, whatever that is. I'm going to give you the resources. We're going to send you in alone, but you're going to know you're capable of taking this on, whatever it is. And you'll have backup if you need it, but we believe in you.
Dude, that is fucking brilliant.
That is the character diamond that I'm going to move forward now with the show.
This is a concept that's been important to me that I haven't heard a better explanation for, where James Bond, the idea, whether you're talking about the person or the entire movie and all the characters in the book, it's a first mountain. It's a good thing to aspire to, but it's not where you want to be. You're supposed to take that and then move on to the second mountain. Because the catchphrase they had is every woman wants him, And that doesn't exist.
No.
There's no person that every woman likes. So if you're aiming for that, you're gonna feel really bad and you're gonna hurt yourself trying. Because James Bond
to be completely honest, James Bond in the majority of the movies is a horrible character.
Women like that, so we'll put that conversation on the side.
Not in ethics, not in morals, nothing like that. In the fact that he is so hard for people to relate to, because he succeeds at everything, looks cool doing it, and always gets the girl. Find the character flaw.
Yeah.
Find the flaw that you're able to identify with and think that this is you. He is such a character that should not be as iconic as he is if you're going just based off some of the movies. Now, there are some times where he has flaws, like one of the Daniel Craig ones, he is presumed dead and he's actually on an island doing drugs and getting drunk, and then he comes back and, okay, we had some character building there.
They had a couple like that.
There's a couple little things, but they're so small that it still doesn't give you that full sense. Now, if I'm putting you into where you feel like that...
That's what I'm getting at. That is the best explanation I've heard, because the second mountain, a better way to put that is you want to have the audience feel like James Bond.
Yes.
You know?
If I'm trying to talk like I'm James Bond, they're not going to identify with that.
Because every time I think of this, like, I like the idea that it feels like you're coming into a Tennessee bar where you have cool people and they're interesting. And essentially, that is a James Bond movie where you have this exotic location with really talented people, and you walk in and you belong there and you're one of them. And you're coalescing it to an even more exciting thing. For me, it's just automatic. I think, I'm going to Tennessee bar to see Ryan. I'm going to be taken off to this interesting experience with all these cool stories. But you're cutting right to the bone of it. That.
It's the idea.
Yeah. Man, I like that. Fucking good job, man.
It took me a while to finally put that one together.
Tell me, was it a fun journey putting it together?
Honestly, it was excruciating at first. Going, no, this isn't quite right. No, I don't write in that style. No, I'm not that character. Yeah, that's because I'm not trying to be a character. I'm trying to make them feel like this larger-than-life character. I'm trying to fully immerse you in it. I'm not trying to brand myself off as someone that you're bonding with. I'm trying to make you feel like you're in this adventure.
You're the world builder.
That is my goal with this, and that's, I think, why the last couple episodes have felt so much less than where I think they should be, is there was so little interaction with the environment in the story.
Okay. I'm getting more a sense of what you want it to be.
Yes. It's still it can still be a good podcast, it can still be a good story, but if it's not hitting where I think the podcast as a brand should hit and be in line with that character diamond, it's not going to feel right. If everything moving forward falls in line with that character diamond, it's going to feel much more cohesive.
It doesn't change how I feel about it, but it is really more powerful to know why all these things. So that explains for me why I like this last episode a lot. What you missed out, what you cut out, and what you miss having was a whole world and environment. I really enjoy the people part of it. My biggest complaint of Game of Thrones was he spent so much time talking about the environment, and I don't care about that. But that's me. And this last one, it was all about the person, the character, and the personalities he interacted with. And for me, that was gripping. I got my notes, and we can dive into that a little bit more later, but I want to get the exact quote. I can sum up my joy of that entire episode with just one phrase: he refused.
Yep.
I don't care where he was, what else going on? Is a tiger gonna bite him? That part of the personality and the people's reactions to it, that was everything I loved about that episode. I didn't feel anything was missing.
It's definitely something that I can see you personally resonating with, is being told, this is too loud and disruptive. Please, for the love of God, stop. We're calling the cops on you. And you going, not until I'm done with this song. I will finish my karaoke set.
And the fact that this is literally what made him famous and succeed makes me, yes.
Yes, I could see you identifying with that a little bit.
It's a fairy tale I like.
It really is a great story, and I wanted to purposely force in his personality with that writing of, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
That's it. Just period. End of sentence. More loud bagpipes.
And that almost kind of worked, where you mentioned the only music you had was at the end, but you had the bagpipes.
Yes.
And the absence of everything else, it's like Mount Fuji. It's not that big, but the fact that everything around is flat makes it seem so enormous. So you have all this silence. So then when the sound effect comes, like, the contrast between quiet and noise is very tangible right now.
One of the little things that I was happy about with it was when the bagpipes kicked on, I very, very minutely turned it down once I started talking, but to a degree where it wasn't super noticeable. And I actually upped the volume of my voice to speak over the bagpipes to make it sound like I'm struggling to talk over him.
I'm going to have to go back and listen to it again, because that is brilliant. And when you do it and you feel it but don't notice it, that's how you know you're doing it well.
I wanted it to come across as me actually struggling to talk over live music at a show or something.
Dude, you have such a knack for this.
I was really tempted to put in like a crowd gathering around him and some sound effects and like feet shuffling on the floor, some kind of world building, but it just did not feel right and took away from the bagpipes.
Yep. All we can hear, those damn bagpipes.
I wanted the bagpipes to truly be deafening, because that is the more accurate depiction of what it would have been like to be there. Even though there was background noise there, the bagpipes would be so loud and unexpected that it would seem like the only thing to you.
It was really nice.
I'm glad that effect worked.
I'm gonna make a note right here for go back and look at that, because look at bagpipe sound modifications, because that is a pretty cool idea. Again, I keep going back to this anchor stone. It's not what you do, it's how you do it.
A lot of this to me is really just playing around, and I know when something sounds right, I know when something doesn't sound right, but putting words to it, I won't know why it's right until it is, and until I've thought about it for a long time. Trying to find the words for that gut feeling is so difficult.
I'm going to save it for later. I have some general questions about the episode, because it's good. Storytelling is really interesting to discuss. That's the main thing I would talk about. But it's about whiskey. So there are some questions I just want to ask about whiskey, but I'll save that for the end. Tell me now, what lessons did you learn from making that episode?
Honestly, the biggest lesson is not a good one for me. It's, I can throw something like this together and have it be acceptable for me to throw out there and submit to the world with this little amount of time. If I really needed to, I could put something together and have a 5-minute episode just to keep people happy in this short amount of time. That's not a good lesson to learn. I want to not be putting things off and be in my head being okay thinking I can procrastinate until 5 hours before this is due and I can put out something that's acceptable. God damn it, that is going to get me in trouble. That got me in trouble so many times as a student in class, where it was, I can write an English paper the night before, well half drunk, and I'll get a B on it. And no, that's not great for quality, but I can do it.
For me, it looks like this skill is like having enough money to be able to invest to do the big thing you want to do.
That's true. There definitely could be a positive spin to it, but in my head I'm going to get comfortable doing it this way, and I don't want it to be this way. I want it to be something I put more time, more effort into. We'll see.
At least at this stage, I think it's important to do every different variety and figure out what worked. You know, the phrase I like to use is we're doing market research.
Yes.
So for me personally, I'm going to try a lot of different things, and I don't think it's even possible to know what would work with the market or would work with me until I try it. So do some, lazy last minute drunk research papers. Also, do some big masterpieces, and almost guaranteed what's perfect for you and what you want to do in the future will be somewhere in between those two, and doing both of them will teach you where exactly that is.
Yeah, quite. Most likely that will be what happens, and we'll see. But right now, I have a craving to do a longer episode, dive more into the man that we're going to be talking about in the next episode. Is such an interesting story, and it's one that I have people ask me about time and time again, even though they don't know his name, they don't know the story. They just know that this is something they should care about, and they know nothing about it. So I look forward to sharing this, and anytime someone asks me about Japanese whiskey in the future, I'm just going to point them to this.
What's the name?
Masataka Takasuru.
I'll have to look it up.
He is the father of Japanese whiskey.
Looking forward to that.
I look forward to sharing the story with you.
If you need a Japanese expert,
there is a good chance I will with names. Names and cities are going to be hard on this one.
It's still a topic I probably know more about than anything else. It just never comes up, so no one knows about it.
Well, I look forward to sharing a glass with you and picking your brains on it at some point. Honestly, even just having you, I might have you listen to different music and things like that I want to put in, because I want it to be culturally right, but also like just finding the music for the teaser in the last episode for this one. One of the things that came up definitely sounded like it was from a shitty kung fu movie. This is definitely cultural appropriation. This is not accurate, but this is so shitty, and no, I can't use this.
And to be honest, like good versions versus bad version, I'll double check, but the music, it didn't sound Japanese. It sounded Chinese.
Okay, yeah, probably.
But yeah, I would be happy to be an advisor.
I would very much appreciate it.
It's weird. I have a profession that pays for this house, and I still, like, Japanese culture and language, I know way more about that than I know about the thing I get paid for. So that was an interesting lesson. I got a note there.
Is there more that we should talk about mine, or should we jump into yours now?
Let's pull that Band-Aid off.
Man, it was great. I just have some questions for you first, so that way I know how to judge and critique it. So my first question, did you have a written out script for this? What did that look like? Was it a loose script you were following? Were you reading something verbatim? Or was this just you talking off the top of your head?
I had one sentence. I wanted to talk about that topic.
So that was all just free form? Okay, that is very impressive. So I'm not going to critique the writing then. Because there was a few things where your metaphor kept changing for it a little bit. Like, stick with one animal.
Yep.
Keep it simple. Use the same thing throughout. That'll be easier to follow. But if you're just free-form talking, that is insanely hard to do off the top of your head and keep track of while keeping your train of thought moving. So, bravo for having it be that cohesive. Can I ask what the sentence was? Was it your starting point? Was it just a topic?
I can probably look it up. It's probably going to be checked off because we did it.
My first instinct was approach this from a writing perspective, because that's the part that I enjoy and put so much time into.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that you were doing this freeform kind of makes me upset. I'm not going to lie.
Like, we were talking about how I think that everything's great. We got to merge in the middle. Start at one point, master those skills, and bridge them over. And so my basic sentence was the conversation we had. I wanted to talk about how the concept of vision is why we have brains, and how that is why being smart is so primally terrifying.
But you never actually use that sentence in your read.
Right. It was just an idea to explain.
In that case, bravo. That is phenomenally well done for just off the top of your head. There's a few things that I would change, but you would need to have a script.
It's still important to hear.
So,
as this becomes more routine, I'll have more bandwidth in my brain to do some things on the fly.
I know this is a topic you've thought about quite a bit. Did you have a few sentences planned out? Like, your first sentence or two seemed very methodical, very much something you had given thought to.
That's probably true. Let me double check. Yep, I thought about that, and I have some ideas. You
definitely set a hook in it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, we want to have something to begin with, to start off with. Yes.
One of the things I would change with that first sentence it was something along the lines of, dumb people are terrified of smart people. Something like that. I would turn it around and instead say, as a smart, educated person that you are, you do not fully understand how terrifying you are to the majority of the population who are less intelligent than you. Or just, you want to, instead of making their first instinct be on the defensive of you calling them dumb, you want them to be empowered and going, oh, I'm the smart person.
Yeah, I made it neutral, and you're right. Like, thinking about putting James Bond into his playpen, think of your audience, what would they feel? And we want to not make this like a 50-50. The default should be the good result.
I did like your hook of them being scared of you, so I would even go a step further and make your first sentence be, you are scary.
Yes.
You are terrifying. Here's why, and here's why that's a good thing.
Yeah, good.
Really set that hook. I listened through it and kept track of where things were hitting time-wise. Your first hook really felt like it was set 8 seconds in. Okay, that's pretty good. Your second one, I think, was about 16, 17 seconds in. Great. I want one more hook from you. I want something that's going to keep me interested till the end. The first two, okay, you hit me with two big ideas. I'm interested to see where it goes. but what am I going to get out of this by the end?
Yep.
I wanted you to add one more point to this that I thought would really make it something special. Why is this useful?
Yep.
How can we use this? What should we do going forward addressing this?
I went through and I had my own notes, and that was the number one thing even for me, that I put in work into the idea and I put in work into the hook. I did not take time to think about where we will end up. And even doing this freeform style, that's something you can do. You can have a destination you're aiming for. So, yeah, why is this useful? You could see in the last paragraph, I'm like, I'm trying to think of something, but I'm on the mic right now.
Yeah, it just felt like it ended early at that point.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd be fine with it ending there if you did two things.
Mm-hmm.
The first is, up front in the beginning, set your third hook of saying, how can we understand this and use this to be something as another tool in our belt to be as productive and as efficient as we can. Great hook. And now I'm interested to learn how I can use this, as well as why it's happening, understanding why I'm terrifying. And then at the end, just cutting it off and saying, now, to learn how to use this effectively in your everyday life, to accomplish your goals, to be as efficient with these people as you can, we're going to explore this topic in fuller detail in the full episode that's coming out in the next month. Something along those lines. And just make this the teaser so that way we want more. Now that we understand this, I want to learn how to use it. You left me on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's actually true. I have this concept, but in my notes of things I wanted to talk about, there's 3-4 other things that connect to this, and I needed to have this explained first before we would jump off to those. So that I'm glad that came across, because that's in my head, but I didn't explain that.
It definitely came across that you had a plan. You are very good at voicing what you're thinking about and having it come across as, this is important, this is fundamentally important, but you never shared why.
Mm-mm.
Other than, this is interesting.
For me, that's enough. But
Absolutely.
Not for the audience.
And it is enough. It can be enough. But you need to somehow relate it to be more personal again, suck them back in.
Mm.
The easiest way to make friends with someone is to give them a gift.
Mm.
That's the easiest way to get them to do anything for you. So make these a gift. Package it that way. And instead of feeling like this is a nature documentary of watching us evolve from fish onto land, it's going to feel like unwrapping a present.
Mm-hmm. Shift it from talking to myself to talking to an audience.
Yes. That would be the one thing I would do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Now, from a production standpoint, because we're going to rip off the Band-Aid a little bit, there's a few things that I think would be useful tools and helpful for you. Because this felt very raw, very unedited, one take.
Yep.
There's a few times where you were stammering, trying to find your words.
Yep.
It's fine to not have your words. It's fine to take a second to think. There will be times where I re-record something 4 or 5 times just because I didn't like the cadence of it.
Yeah, how do you get that to match in the rest of what was around it?
It's pretty easy. All you do is stop, read back the last line or the last thing you said, and have a clean plate of you saying that.
Okay. Because I tried to attempt this a couple times, and it just seems so jarring to shift that I threw that out.
It will seem jarring to you, but you show it to anyone else, I guarantee you they will not notice it. it will only be you who's picking up on that little minute detail because you are the most familiar with what your cadence should be.
Good.
It's one of those stupid little things to where it takes so little time to just repeat a phrase and have a clean slate to where you can just take out that little mistake I made. It will take you 3 seconds to just delete that, and now it sounds like it's a flowing sentence. And I know you're not going to delete that now because it wouldn't make sense for you to. You wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. I did not intentionally make that mistake, but I'm going to make it seem like it was intentional.
I'm probably going to need to be reminded of this a couple times, but this is a good thing to start working on.
One of the things I had seen online, have you seen those clickers for dogs where you're supposed to click it and then give them a treat and
Yep.
they associate the clicker with the treat?
Yep.
It was such a stupid idea, but it seems so simple that it could be done. If you make a mistake, click. It will make an audio spike that's very easy to see, so you know, okay, this was where a problem was. I can listen and see that. Okay, I'm going to re-record. I'll do another click afterwards to show that, or beforehand to show this is the first take. This one wasn't too good either. I'll do 2 clicks to show this is the second take and do it with that. That way I can have you can have a visual marker to see it. This is something I personally haven't done. I've started almost the editing process while I'm recording, just to make it more efficient, more fluid. I'll record 1 paragraph at a time. And if I mess up on something, I'll either do a clean take and get it in 1 or 2, or because I'm recording such short fragments, I'll just delete that and start the whole thing over so it all flows. Because when there's a paragraph, it's a natural break in the cadence. You can expect the voice to fluctuate a little bit from paragraph to paragraph, and it's not jarring.
This is really good.
It's little things I've had to learn from experience, so I'm happy to be able to share them with you.
All of this is stuff that like I felt and was thinking about, and you're just giving me like the solutions on a platter.
I sincerely hope they work, but I don't expect all of them to, because we are very different people. Even though we're very similar, there's going to be certain ways that work for me and feel better for me for the editing process that aren't going to work and feel as good to you.
I strongly expect that you coming from the scripted side and me coming from the freeform side, we're going to have a lot of overlap where you'll start butting into stuff and like, oh, I've had a little time working on that, and I have some good solutions that I've already figured out, just like you're doing for me right now.
Absolutely. I look forward to learning from you.
Remember that discussion we had about how you have to have the bullet points where you're doing this, you're going from like really concrete to abstract and back, or really busy to slow and back and all that. I think every story we tell is a mix of scripted and unscripted, and it's imperative to learn both.
Absolutely. And even while I'm recording something, I'll have the script pulled up and I'll read through it, and in my head I'll go, that doesn't sound quite right now that I'm reading it out loud. I'm realizing that I'm using the same word 3 times in 1 sentence. No, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't flow right. Sure, it's grammatically correct, but it feels sloppy. I'll make the change on the spot, and I'll record 2 or 3 of them just to see what it sounds like and which one I want to use.
I really like this idea of, at the moment, recording it multiple times, because like
you go back to it the next day, it is so hard to match your voice from what it was when you were recording that. Something about, I don't know, the humidity in the air, something about the temperature, something about how much you've had to drink and how warmed up your vocal cords are. It is so hard to mimic that.
And the level of enthusiasm, like.
Oh, absolutely. If I'm going at it just to record 2 lines that I fucked up on, I am not going to be as enthusiastic as when I'm recording a whole story and I'm invested and excited already.
And I mean, you want to know the one thing that made me feel like I might have a talent for this? Was how passionate I felt about it. The emotion that was in it.
Oh, that came across absolutely in it. That was fantastic.
So I think that's the thing that I like the most and hopefully would actually be enjoyed by an audience. So keeping that is my top priority. And if you come back the next day to record it again, you're like, I didn't sound as excited because at the time it kind of felt like a new discovery. It's an idea I know, but as you're fleshing it out while you're talking about it, it's a little bit of that feeling like you're just discovering for the first time. And then come back to like re-record the next day. It's like, okay. I mean, this has been done. I don't care about this anymore. I mean, I care about it in the abstract, but so re-recording right then and there, that is a brilliant idea.
It's one of those stupid little things that worked so well. And I wish I had known that for the first time when I was recording Shackleton, because I tried to go back, re-record some parts that I messed up on because I didn't listen to it in the same take. I didn't pay attention to it. And so, yeah, there was, I think, 3 different spots where I had stuff I needed to re-record. And I ended up re-recording the whole thing of Shackleton because it felt so... It wasn't cohesive anymore.
Yeah.
I had to go back and re-record the full 40-something minute episode.
That must have hurt.
Yes, but it also was a good learning experience, and I learned something from re-recording it from the first time of, okay, I should make some small changes here, breathe here, have some cadence difference, really accentuate this one word, put some more emphasis on it, to where it helped. It made it a better product in the finish. Now, it was only 5% better, and is that worth 40 minutes of my time, plus all the other... It probably took me over an hour and a half to record, even though it was only a 40-minute episode, because I still had to do multiple takes on certain parts, and I still messed up and was pausing, drinking water. Is 5% better worth an hour and a half extra recording? Probably not, no.
I wonder about that. I feel like that's a question we can't know the answer to right now, but by doing we'll know, because part of that 5% is permanently part of you. So if you hit a button and it just madly made it 5% better, is that worth it? Probably not. But is making you 2% better for the rest of your life worth it?
In that case, yes.
Yeah.
I'll take that. So I absolutely am happy I had that learning experience and it gave me these tips. Now, if I can give you those tips and save you the hour and a half, even better. I wish I had someone for that.
I relate to this a little bit more because I literally did. I thought about this idea for a long time, yada, yada, yada. Recording, it was 10 minutes is 10 minutes. I went back a couple days later and tried to, I listened to it, put down notes. I like this different, this should be different, that should be different. And I tried to re-record parts of it. And I spent 2 hours on that, and I couldn't get anything that was useful.
Yep. I'm all too familiar with that.
Like, the software is pretty darn handy. Like,
oh, you can adjust gain, you can adjust certain things to try and make it sound like you sounded the first time. Still very difficult to do, and I'm not good enough. I'm not an expert. I don't get paid for this, to where I am so capable with these tools to where I can make it match perfectly.
Yeah.
That is not who I am, and I'm not going to pay someone to do that. So it's so much easier and so much more effective to just do a second take in the moment and cut out the part where you stammered.
See, I want to show this to you. So this is the software Descript, and I recorded in something else that's like a high quality audio thing, but this transcribes everything. And here's my notes on the side. It's like, okay, you need to stop using filler words so much. I removed those because I could just highlight and say delete.
Sure.
You know, what are we calling this monster? We keep changing the name. Maybe we should make it more consistent. That's, yeah. Like, oh, well, we actually should have like an actionable thing at the end. You know, yeah. These are really good ideas. But I was able to go and remove some of the junk. But when it came to adding new audio, none of it was good.
It's so difficult to do and do well.
Any other ideas?
I would just, once again, hammer home, try and be consistent. If you're writing it out, it's very hard to do in person, but if you're writing it out, keep your metaphor consistent. Because at one point you talked about being in a cage with a lion, and then 2 minutes later you're talking about being in a closet with a crocodile or something.
Yeah. That's interesting. I would almost, from my perspective, it would feel like it would be boring to be repeating the same metaphor, but you felt that it would feel better to do that.
It felt a little disconnected. Repeating something is fine if you're trying to hammer home a point. It's making it stick in their brain more. This is an important point you're trying to make of you are the scary animal that they're locked in a cage with. It's okay to emphasize that by repeating it and hammering that home. It's okay to say something over again and then say it again and again. This will make sense now. This is how scary you are. You are not hearing me. This is how scary you are. That will absolutely make it engaging.
Nice. It's like you're having not just a catchphrase, not a hook, but you also have a theme. And that theme is something you think about and keep throughout the thing.
Absolutely. And you can even use that to keep bringing yourself back in on topic. Because if you're doing this from the top of your head, I would have the one metaphor written down along with the one sentence or your hooks that you're starting with. And just, if you find yourself going off on a tangent, just stop what you're doing and just repeat that metaphor of, you are scary to these people. And then go back from there. You're back on your track now.
This is really useful. I feel a
Use
shape
that
of
as your
this now.
compass.
So we have, hook in the beginning, a theme throughout, an ending to aim for, and, this is all built on a topic. So with those 4 pieces, and I've only had 2 of the 4, lucky I got this far with it.
You did a great job, and you naturally, I think, were hitting some great points and naturally had a great cadence to it.
There's some parts I looked to when I was looking through, I was naturally going to physical senses and then connecting it to abstracts. Because this is like a pretty abstract theoretical thing. And every single time I talked about the abstract thing, it was buttressed by physical sense before, physical sense after. So we were connecting to at least on an emotional level, why this matters, instead of just here's some science.
You did a very good job of that. It felt like all the science made sense and had a purpose to it. Again, I just wish at the end you had something for us to go, okay, now that you understand just how terrifying you are, we're going to learn how to use that to better yourself and better your interactions with these people.
Yeah. Great. Well, I have a few ideas that are related to this topic that I wanted to do next. I wanted to get some ideas of how to do a better job, so I'm going to use these on the next one.
I look forward to hearing it and seeing, hopefully I'll be able to see how the tools are used that you have now, but I'll be even more impressed if I can't tell if you just work it in so seamlessly on your first try.
Well, I got something to aim for then. Yeah.
I'm going to give you the aim so high goal that even if you hit low, it's going to be phenomenal.
I'm just glad you listened to it. I wasn't even sure if anyone like
Oh, absolutely.
took the time to check it out.
I will say the link you sent me was not the easiest way of listening to it. I look forward to you finding platforms and getting on Spotify because that is by far the easiest thing I've found.
Yeah.
The hard part with this link was you sent me a 9-minute recording. My phone will lock up after 2 minutes. This will stop it from playing with the website that it's on.
All right. Yeah.
So I was having to tap my phone every minute or so to make sure it didn't lock up so I can keep listening to this.
That sucks.
Which partially worked great because it forced me to be engaged with it.
Not what we're going for.
But that's because I'm already invested and want to listen to it.
Yep.
Your audience is not going to be that way.
Yeah, this was... I wanted to be able to, like, have everyone that I respect able to just use it without having to, like, download this app or do that. Like, my one buddy in Dublin, like, I don't expect he's going to install Spotify ever. So, it's like, okay, after I got some feedback, definitely what I want to do next.
What makes you think he won't have Spotify or won't be willing to have it?
He's really anti-apps. He's like a passionate about privacy.
Okay, so he's one very eccentric person, and you can send him a link for that.
Right.
I'm amazed by how connected this world is to where even though we're just a small population of it that's in a small, tight-knit group, everyone has Spotify now. Even my analytics for the show, I have very few monthly listeners. I think it's like 15. 4% of it is in Scotland and Ireland.
Good fucking job, Ryan.
Now, that could be someone using a VPN and throwing it off, and that very well, that's what I think is most likely. But the fact that you're bringing up someone in Ireland saying they won't have Spotify, and I have one listener in Ireland using Spotify, it's just poetry to me at that point.
He's a unique man, which makes him so incredibly
I'd
full
love
of
to talk
ideas
with
that are
him
useful.
then. Yeah, he sounds really interesting to talk to. But don't make your product less user-friendly to appease the very rare instance of someone who doesn't want it to be user-friendly.
Yeah, this was supposed to be for critics only. It's when you get like the DVD in the mail and it says like, for preview only. It's not for the audience yet.
Yep. I understand.
All right. I'm going to break to go to the bathroom.
I'm going to grab some more water as well.
You're sticking with water?
Yep.
Okay.
And they have a barrel-aged chocolate liqueur. That was actually really fucking good.
This is wild, and I'm seeing this in other industries too, but shit that seems like it's been around forever, there's nothing new to do. There's so much more advancing in whiskey right now. At the event yesterday, they had, of course, I love Tennessee so much. I'm at the Rosé Festival, and I can find whiskey everywhere. They had one booth, and I got their card for you.
All right.
They were aging rosé in whiskey barrels, and then aging whiskey in rosé barrels.
This one happened to be Penelope.
I don't remember much of yesterday.
Fair.
I will get the card for you.
Please do. Because I have a bottle of Penelope Rosé Cask Finished Bourbon.
It's probably that. It was good.
Over ice, it is my favorite summer bourbon. You put it over the rocks, it chills it down so it's nice, refreshing in the heat, but it takes away some of the bite of it, and you're just left with strawberries, cream, and like a vanilla drizzle. And it is so good in the summer.
I was just grateful to find anything that was actually whiskey, and I was like, oh, this is a big deal. I need
to see the
some time.
barrel-aged rosé even. That sounds interesting. and probably a horrible looking color in the glass. Pink with a yellow orangish tinge to it.
I'm sure they do something to color correct it. It's rosé. They can do what the hell they want with it.
Have to.
But yeah, I wanted to try. I like had my list of because anything with even a hint of red wine will mess me up real bad. Like I want to be in decent shape for this discussion with you today. So like, I'm very curious, but not today, Satan.
Fair enough.
So yeah, make sure to remind me to grab the card. I left it upstairs.
I will do that.
I did want to ask, are you still having any thoughts of making that independent and possibly bringing it to Nashville? Because I'm telling people you are.
I don't know how realistic that is. At least not in the stage that I am right now with 15. Yeah, that's not enough.
15 people is not enough.
If I was to buy a barrel and do full-size bottles, there'd be somewhere between 160 to 200 bottles.
Oh, I'm thinking about something else. I was thinking about having the group where we meet.
Oh, yeah.
And reps come.
No, we can.
And we know enough that the reps actually have a good time because we know what they're talking about. Making that independent from your day job.
I could definitely work something out with that.
I don't know exactly what it is, but I see some value in that. And I think it should be
What we would have
done.
to do is technically classify ourselves as a bourbon group or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that way we can contact them as an organization for the reps to come out and do an event with. That would be the only real way I can see that working.
So when you contact them now, the fact that you have a bar is what makes them hooked into it?
The fact that I have an audience that they can be in front of and share their products to, or that they can make sales even directly just to the bar, that is what entices them and makes it worth it.
Because we'd have an audience, but selling to a bar, that would be the missing part.
Even if it's just an audience for a tasting and they can't sell directly to us, just being able to say, hey, there's a liquor store down the road that you can pick up these bottles at if you like anything that we had here today.
Yeah. Because that's something we definitely can do.
Absolutely.
I would want to...
And even if it's just going to their distillery, then they can directly sell to us that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I can see them being on board with.
I'd like to get involved in that more in the fall, like going to locations and bringing people along, but that's a separate thing. Having a spot in Nashville where we can do it once a month and have it guaranteed. I like meeting these people and knowing that I want to have you come. I want to hear your thing, but I want my friends to hear this too, and I want it to be friends who are going to care about this and know enough. Like when you see the rep relax and have more fun because we know we can actually have an adult conversation about it, I love seeing that.
Absolutely.
I would want, and I will need your ideas on this, but I would want somehow to be some sort of membership thing, because there are people that will make the experience worse. So I would want us to have some kind of control of who can't come.
So one of the things I was thinking about is there's a new part of the whiskey school. It's a program that they're doing where it's an online class, and you don't become a whiskey sommelier through it because it's online. You aren't getting a full experience, but it's teaching you some of the core values, some of the information for it, and it's just to be a whiskey enthusiast who knows what they're talking about.
Yep. I remember this. I like the idea. And I have made a formal schedule for how I'm budgeting my investment myself. How much?
200, I think.
Yeah, that'll fit in. That'll fit in this year.
Honestly, I think it's expensive for what it is, but it also would weed out the people who aren't willing to invest time and money.
So everyone who goes should be a member of that. I like this idea a lot.
Well, even they were talking about the last time I was in Texas, how if you have a whiskey sommelier and 10 people who are bona fide whiskey enthusiasts, just having that be little small chapters of one big organization, and okay, I can go to this city where there's the whiskey sommelier who leads a tasting for all these people who are part of this community, and just because I have this card, I can jump in with them.
Yeah.
And you can do that for any time, anywhere that there's a local branch of this that has a whiskey sommelier leading tastings for it.
I think you just decided we need that whiskey now. I love this idea so much.
Oh, I love that they're doing it, and I want to see it do well because that's such a great idea. Now, I'll warn you, be careful in pouring this because there is a chance that the wood will try and come out.
I was kind of hoping that after we stop recording, we'd have a little drink out in trees and get a little dirty anyway.
Keep it small for me.
Just like Ashley.
Perfect.
This is the main thing in my mind right now of spending time with smart people like these guys in your whiskey school. It just snowballs everything.
Oh, absolutely.
You get smarter, so then you end up smarter and more passionate. So then you're more capable of meeting more smart and passionate people who make you more smarter and passionate. So it gets higher level. I don't understand how any people in this kind of life are ever bored or alone. Like, you're just meeting better people constantly because of what you do.
Yes, but there's definitely people who are really smart at one thing, but really fucking stupid when it comes to a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Great example of this, the writing teacher at the school, his name is, why can't I think of his name now? It starts with an M. I want to say Murdoch, but I know that's Howling Mad Murdoch from the A-Team. It's Maddox, there we go. James Maddox. Brilliant ad writer, genius of a man. Literally got scurvy this year.
That's hard to do.
He was living out of his truck because he just wanted to be remote and away from everything and surviving off fast food. He went to the doctor and they said, "You have scurvy. How the hell did you do this?" This is really just, how the fuck did you do this? It's a horrible disease that we haven't seen. This is like you coming to us with the plague. But the good news is it's very easy to fix. Eat a fucking orange.
Ronald McDonald trying to kill you, man.
Just, God, every time I tell that story, I end up going to the store and picking up fresh fruit just because I refuse to get scurvy after making fun of him.
The goals. Very achievable goals.
Yes. Very low bar.
But I'll just say, how much of your time talking to this man was boring?
He scares the shit out of me. Partially because he is known for being blunt with his critique.
Okay.
And partially because he is smarter than me. But the last time I saw him, he read one sentence that I wrote, the very first sentence that I wrote, went, I like that, and walked off. And I was not emotionally prepared for that reaction.
Of him, like, actually liking something.
Yes, normally it's going, no, that's that's fucking wrong. No, do it again. And he is very bad at explaining what's wrong with it, but you hear what he writes and how he writes, and you know he's right and this is not right.
Yep.
Teaching you and understanding it is so fucking hard, though.
There's one level of doing the thing, another level of knowing why that's the right thing, and another level above that is being able to explain it to another person.
He is such a genius with this that it comes off as effortless, and I'm sure it isn't, but it's almost demoralizing watching him.
He's one of the teachers?
Yes. And he is a great teacher for it. I wouldn't have anyone else do his job.
Nice.
But the first time you sit down with him, there have been multiple students who he has made cry.
I don't know how I feel about that.
He is sporadic, chaotic, and I love him. I hate his guts, but I love him. I love learning from him.
One of the biggest takeaways I had with ketamine is how important it is to truly have everyone so completely different. Like, we need all of that. And there's some things that you don't want to have that in your house. Maybe you don't need to have that person in your life, but we need to have those people doing those things for some reason that we don't understand, because we can't understand because we're not good at the thing he's good at.
Honestly, I want to see him once a year to slowly improve, but not get pissed off to the point where I'm going to walk out on him.
This is a high level thing where he's good at multiple things. You're learning about whiskey, but you're learning some emotional stuff too.
Yes. Him and Anthony Dinas, I just want to spend a week with and just talk with him about flavor.
Who's that guy?
He is a high up at Dell, and in his spare time, he is a phenomenal chef and a level 4 whiskey small. Yeah, level 4 now. He was one of the 15 whiskey sommeliers.
So we're talking with him at the time down in Texas.
He's one of the teachers as well, and he's the one who led the food pairing test.
Mm-hmm.
And he is brilliant when it comes to flavors. He thinks about things in ways that I never would even conceive of. The most brilliant thing that he said to me was he had a whole PowerPoint presentation on how humans evolved to see different colors, and we can mark in history times when colors as a concept were invented.
Yeah.
And the last color to be invented was blue.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back and read Homer's Odyssey and everything like that, he talks about the sea being green because that was the closest they had.
Today, 2023, Japanese still does not have a blue.
That's astounding.
They have a word that's basically just saying it in English, and their word still means blue, green, we're not really sure. It's somewhere in the middle.
And to you and I, though, blue is such a solid concept. Of course we know blue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he thinks the same thing is going to happen with flavors, and that over time, humans are going to find more and more flavors that we just don't have words to even have a concept or understanding of in our head.
Umami. I thought that was hipster bullshit until I went to the new distillery that they opened in downtown Dublin. And I wish I could remember the name of it. I will love to show you the menu I bought from there. But their entire plan was to make it 4 cocktails. And they get you engaged in it. So you do the tour, like, all right, we're going to make cocktails. You pick one of the flavors, and we're going to make you a master of that flavor. And when we're doing those testing, like, oh, that umami thing I actually recognize in my mouth right now. And I would not have noticed if you did not scream at me about it.
I have a vague understanding of what umami is supposed to be, but I don't know that I truly understand the sensation of it. I've always been told it's like a rich, earthy, almost like a mushroomy flavor. Is that close?
I can't begin to describe.
It's like trying to say, what does sour taste like? It's
Yes.
sour. What does red look like? It's red.
The fact that they were able to maybe like, oh, this is different than that was, ha ha ha, neat.
I need
Put it on the
another
list.
experience at some point.
Put on the list for when we take you to Ireland. It was the easiest distillery to get to.
Do you remember which one?
I do. I'm not good with names. I never am and never will, but I definitely know where it is.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, maybe we can get Sean to go.
Speaking of Irish whiskey, what are your thoughts? And then I'll share mine.
I am struggling so hard to talk to you because there's so much going on in my head about this whiskey. This is more than I expected.
It definitely fixed a lot of things I don't like about Jameson. But there's a few things where it can't fix.
And that's funny. It's been a journey, a fucking journey. At the beginning, all I felt was the things that I don't like about Jameson. And then soon that faded away. And this is good. And there's something else in there that I don't know if I've ever tasted before.
Is it that almost like sour chocolate note?
It feels like
That's
I'm
not finished.
tasting a different flavor of smoke than I've ever had before.
I see what you mean with the smoky note. The one thing that I wish it fixed was I wish it had a better mouthfeel. It still feels so thin.
That is true.
Now, if I made this into like a whiskey sour with the egg white and gave it a more frothy texture, that could work really well. That could help fix that, but I don't want that like citrus note with this. So I don't know what I could do to fix that mouthfeel other than pick a better pot still whiskey.
That's what I'm saying. Like, get a real pot still. Like, the whole point of the green bottle is it's fake.
Yeah.
That's why it's thin.
Yeah.
Irish whiskey, unmalted barley, it's oily and thick. That's the whole bloody thing.
But as a proof of concept,
Exactly. You fight the hardest demon to prove you can. So now we take this idea. We do that with something that's already good and turn it from good to like sexy.
I was more so thinking of it as we start with the cheapest shit, and if it's good, then I'll try it on an expensive bottle, but I'm not starting with a good expensive bottle and ruining it.
Very, very good point. But yeah.
I would
Success.
not start out by experimenting with Redbreast.
Mm-mm. I'm liking this.
To be honest, this is not a good one to do an infusion with. Normally you want something at least 50%.
It's more absorbable.
The alcohol absolutely will pull more oils out.
I don't care that it's wrong. But what's coming into my head is when you hold on the brake, put down the gas, and you just burn rubber on the road.
Okay.
That's what I'm tasting.
I can see where you're coming from. Fun to try.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. This was great.
Absolutely.
It's weird.
That's
Like,
been in there since St. Patrick's Day.
so like 4 months. Everything is like, this is something that I should dislike, but I'm enjoying this flavor. So it's so, I like new shit. This is fun, dude.
This is why I experiment.
I want to make sure we get through some of the main bullet points, but
Yes, let's try.
I wanted to ask you real quick. I've been doing a hit or miss job of the whole planning stuff. Did I invite you to the UFC thing on June 10th?
You did.
All
You
right.
did. We'll see if I'll be able to make it, but it's on my calendar.
Right. As long as you're aware of it.
My June is already turning into a mess.
Good stuff, right?
Going back to Minnesota for the first weekend of it. And we'll see what all happens throughout the month as well.
I have a feeling you'll survive.
Oh yes, I'll make it through.
Okay, I had a full-on section where I want to discuss ideas of things that would be good to be repeatable. So you just have, a rhythm and you don't have to stress. You're getting things down where it's good, but it doesn't take a lot of investment in time is important. But honestly, I think we can just skip that for today and have plenty of time with just the last 3 questions.
Okay.
I love this all so much because I know I'm learning a lot that I'm happy to just be able to do. But the people I'm encountering as I do this are really enjoyable to be around. There's one example. There's one guy, I like him a lot. He's a really cool guy. And he's super into country music and that's some of my passions. And I'm going to see him in about 2 months because every single thing I plan to go out with, there's these new people who are passionate about the thing I'm excited about. There's not the bar for the things I'm doing with my time and the people I'm spending time with is getting higher and higher every month. It's freaking great. I think that's actually going to be the best part of doing this. More valuable than any money you could get. So,
Real quick, are we recording again?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to check in on that.
appreciate that. So, my 3 questions are about that. As we do this more, we're going to start off with people doing what we're doing, but in the beginner level. As we improve, we'll be able to get access to more talented people. For right now, who is somebody that we could get to say yes, that you would want to interview?
Honestly, I think we could aim higher than we think, and we could get them in.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Bert Kreischer?
Yes.
Love him. Love his stuff. Hilarious guy. I was watching part of his podcast that he does with Tom Segoya, and he said something about how in order to get yourself out there as much as possible, just take as many collaborations as you can, and doesn't matter if it's something that you don't think is going to have a big impact, you're going to be exposed to a new audience, and there's a good chance that they'll follow you from it, especially if you're passionate and excited with what you're doing. So if someone understands that truly, there's a good chance that they'll be willing to work with us. Now, that being said, there's definitely some friends that I could call up and get them in here for an interview. I mean, Benjamin would be a fun person to interview.
Definitely.
I think a great person for the topics that we're covering with starting our own projects would be my friend Corey in Texas. He's the one who told me this is the microphone you should get. He ran logistics for a YouTube channel for a while that has millions of followers. He is very knowledgeable on the technical side of things, and he's starting up his own channel and trying to gain some traction. He's the one who built the whiskey-powered grill.
Yeah.
Definitely a great guy. Amazing person. Amazing sense of ingenuity. But he would be a great person for us to talk to, just in terms of what should we use in terms of equipment, how can we take these first steps, and he's given me such good advice for that. I'm so glad I met him and became friends with him.
So
I
you're
don't think
thinking-
he realizes how valuable he is with that.
those are the best people to know.
Absolutely. Honestly, this microphone has been such a good one for me as a beginner
Mm-hmm.
because it has USB capabilities and I don't need to get nice. What's the piece of equipment I'm thinking of where the XLR cable goes in and you can plug in like 3 or 4?
Yeah, we'll just call it an amp.
I don't need to get one of those right now. This is a much smaller investment monetarily wise to where, yeah, I can just get this mic, start recording, start making content. But if I decide to scale up, get more equipment, it has capabilities to use XLR cables
Mm-hmm.
and it can grow with me. And eventually I might want to replace it with something more high capacity, higher cost. But for right now, it fits me where I'm at and it gives me the ability to grow.
Mm. Yeah, your
That
sound
is
quality's been
such
pretty
an
good.
important thing. Having that ability to grow and not pay hundreds of dollars every single step for replacing all of your equipment.
I always get nervous about buying something at like 50% and then buying something at the 100% later and having lost the money I spent on the 50% one. But this was kind of like an elegant way to just immediately start getting shit done at a good level.
That's the type of thing where he does not realize how valuable he is with that. So I think he would be a great person just to do a video interview with on the show or something and
Yeah.
talk with him about what it's like equipment wise, and it'd be pretty boring for a listener who's not trying to start a show just hearing, oh yeah, you want a Samsung Q2U microphone with capabilities for XLR and USB recording. That's just throwing out a lot of jargon and names and things that they aren't really going to be invested in.
Yeah.
But just for us, it would be, if we're trying to make a show about starting a podcast, he would be the guy to do it with.
Yeah. That, at least for one episode, would be really important.
Absolutely. I think it'd be interesting for an audience to hear that episode and then hear us hopefully make changes and follow his advice.
So Corey, and there was another name you said, Benjamin. Yeah.
Benjamin would be a good one.
I think he'd be great.
I could find you. I was tempted to start a whole second show and call it like Fly in a Bar Wall or something, and just grab a random person that I know from the bar and just once a month interview them about their life and their perspective on things.
That is a really good idea.
Because I meet so many people who have so many different viewpoints than me that are drastically different from my own.
What's stopping you from doing that?
I don't know, time commitment. That, and I don't really have a good space to invite them to record.
That is what I think it is. Because you don't have to do any planning, which saves you so much time. But it's like when I'm doing this, I mean, you're someone I know and trust. I can't be recording in my closet with you. That'd be freaking awkward as hell. That one girl I had a bad date with, very interesting person. I would love to interview, but I can't say like, hey, come to my house. Like,
See, if I had a space like this, I would absolutely be inviting people to it, man. This is nice. You have a good spot here.
I can get some people. There's some people that won't do this, and there's some people like, I don't know. I think you could think of some people that you would love to interview, but you wouldn't want to know where you live.
That's fair. That's very fair.
But yeah, we can use that, what we got. So I really like this idea because we keep coming back to so many really impressive and valuable things you know from all the experience you have of hearing so many stories from people while working at a bar, and putting that into a recording that other people could experience would be really useful. and enjoyable.
One of the things I know I've brought up to you before is a friend of mine who is smarter than me once said, there's so many things in this world, in this universe, everything, that the chances of any one of us, even though there's 7 billion of us, being right about everything is basically 0%. There is no chance that I'm right about everything. There's no chance about you being right about everything. So what can you do to figure out what you're wrong about and learn more? Well, that's a very hard thing to do, but finding people who have different beliefs, different values, different viewpoints from myself on things and just listening to them has been the best way to finding out, okay, I used to think this, but that kind of changed now. I don't necessarily believe in that anymore.
That's literally the main reason why I love Nashville, because you have people actually willing to talk when we're different. And there's so many times where you are smart enough to know what's right, but you just never heard it. And when you finally get exposed to it, you're like, oh, my Lord. Like,
there's been things where I thought I was right, and I thought I was on the moral high ground, and then I listen to this and I go, oh,
it makes sense.
I don't believe what I used to anymore. This is now what I'm going to be believing and going forward. And it might change in the future, but I'm going to be open to that.
And if you never got exposed to it, you would never...
I mean, never have grown.
Maybe 30 years later, but you're smart to know it when you see it. And having that exposure, you would be doing that with that podcast topic. That's really good.
It was one of those things that I've valued so much that I would hope other people would find value in it, but I don't think it would work, because the amount of people out there who are open and willing to change their beliefs, it'd be fighting an uphill battle.
Well, I keep coming back to this as well. We don't need to worry about everyone. We only need to worry about the people that matter.
True.
The whole point, the thing I'm most excited about this is you get to be connected more every year with people that are more the right people for you. And we don't need to spend our time with everyone on the planet. Your audience doesn't need to be everyone on the planet. Connecting more with the people who are good and better influences on you, that's everything. I don't worry about the people who are too stupid to understand anymore.
Yes, but there's also some topics where I don't necessarily want to give away my beliefs, and I don't necessarily want to talk about them on a show. I'll give you one example that would be, I'm going to assume that this isn't going to be going out and being published.
Let me just stop this.
And it's not that bad if it does. Yeah, interesting departure from a men's hair salon where it's just guys coming up to the bar and talking with me.
You do have a curtain filter on that, which I think about a little bit. Like, that was a weird thing, like, talking to that girl on that date. Like, it was just so awkward the whole time. Like, I know you're interesting. I know I'm interesting, and we both have the same interests. I don't listen to any podcast by women. And just like with comedy, there's a legit thing where women sucked at it. Full stop, period. We will get mad, we'll bullshit, but they did. They got really good at it. There are incredibly talented women comedians right now. There's some shitty ones, just like before, but there's some great ones. So with podcasting, I assume that it's the same thing, that I have a distaste for just low quality no matter who you are. And when you don't actually have to make a living, you're not going to push yourself as hard. But like, there's got to be some good female guests and good female content. And it's going to be different. It's going to be good in a different way, which is that beautiful teamwork thing. And I don't know much about that part.
I think it's definitely, we as a person look for things and experiences that are similar to us and people who have similar past experiences that we can resonate with. So I think personally, you and I definitely would look for people closer to us, and that's not going to be a woman.
Right. It's useful to take the next step, the half step. Like I'm doing another topic, and it's about how the idea of a crutch or training wheels is an insult. Like that makes you learn faster. You know, it's such a useful thing to go to the next thing instead of trying to leap something that's, you know, very different from you or very, very hard and struggle forever to even get the first part of it.
Interesting.
But it got raised to me that is a missing thing in my tool belt, which I'm going to want to have.
Women are, I'm sure there's very good, very capable female podcasters out there, but like you said, I don't listen to them.
Yeah.
And part of me also wonders if just the higher tone and pitch that their voices tend to be, it's the same reason why I don't listen to many female music artists, is a lot of them just start to feel too high pitched, it's almost irritating at times. Whereas a more low bassy voice, like you have Morgan Freeman talking.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's like butter on your ears. It's just, people love him. There's not a female equivalent of Morgan Freeman out there. Naturally, I think guys have that lower voice that's more soothing, gets you more wanting to listen to it.
It's an age thing. When you're a child, you're so hardwired to want to listen to high-pitched voices. My buddy Chris, I mentioned him, and he's got a kid, and every single there's one show in particular. The guy talks in his high pitch the whole time because that's what you have to do to get money, to get kids' attention. The dude is like an ex-Air Force helicopter pilot, and his normal day he talks like this. But like you have to put that fake thing on if you ever want to do something with kids. And you become an adult. You stop listening to women, you start listening to men. Some people never become adults.
It's one of those things where it sounds so bad on paper to say women's voices irritate me when I listen to them for long periods of time in a podcast. But yeah, when it is high pitched like that, and I've known women who I don't want to be in the room with because their voice just irritates me.
Yep.
I have to imagine there is some science behind that, and I hope it doesn't come across as arrogant.
There's a lot of instinctual stuff that we're stuck with, you know, like the thing everyone like moans and groans about men making more money than women. The amount of money that tall people make more than short people is way more than that. That is such a huge bias, and good or bad, we're stuck with it. So pretending it doesn't exist is not going to help solve it. But it's one of those things with when you're a kid, you look up all the time at everyone that loves you and everyone that's smart and everyone who knows what they're doing. So by the time you become an adult, it's ingrained in you. It's been 2 decades of looking up means this person knows more than I do.
Well, even already, one of the social paradigms that shifted is how we view men with beards.
Oh, yeah. That's been weird.
It used to be CEOs were all clean-shaven, had to be super clean-cut businessmen. Now we're starting to see more studies come out where CEOs should have a beard or facial hair because it makes them seem more like a father figure that's going to be taking care of you, that you can trust. Beards make you appear as that character.
I think maybe the whole shave thing was just you look like you're some guy who came back from the war.
Well, it made it look like, okay, this is a person who takes care of themselves, they have good hygiene, they're going to take care of the company the same style that they're taking care of themselves. If they're shaving twice a day, yeah, they're going to be the type of person who's regimented and taking care of the company.
Okay, there's 2 more questions I want to make sure we get through. Do you have a question for me first?
You hit one of them already. Let's see. Oh, one of the ones I was going to start this off with. It's a little late for it now, but we'll do it anyways.
Do a try.
What's one thing from our previous conversations that you wish we had recorded in this more professional setup to where we'd be able to share it with people?
I know what this is, and it's the conversation that got completely lost and made me search for an app that would definitely keep running even if I was looking at other apps. When we were at the steakhouse and we were talking, and we're like, okay, the best stuff always comes out when you've been a long time and you kind of just let your guard down a bit. And we talked about both, like, our own individual thoughts about the shooting that happened, the school shooting that happened around here. And you had a really good grilling of me of what I should do with my podcast. And both of those were really insightful. Those were so good that I wanted to be able to listen again to actually like remember it and learn from it. But was so good that I wanted that to be in high quality that it was good enough to be released because it was significant.
I want to jump ship slightly for 1 second because I remembered one thing I wanted to say about your recording. I want you to do more of that style where you're just talking about something like our brains growing to develop time because we can see further on land. And that doesn't sit in the Ain't For You podcast that you've been wanting to make. So I want to offer up another name for a show that you could do where you're talking more on topics like this, and just call it The Profound Truth. The Whiskey School has a saying that they like very much, and that's the opposite of the truth is false. The opposite of a profound truth is oftentimes another profound truth.
Interesting. Did they give an example?
No.
The opposite of a truth is...
When you're talking about something so profound and so out there, the opposite of it is oftentimes also true and just as complex and interesting.
I have seen that a lot where the opposites are so good, which is why I hate the word balance, because to most people that means they're going to like 50% each and be this diluted, mediocre version of both. But I'm seeing more and more that you can be the best of both extremes, and that somehow makes you better at the other thing. I mean, that's the entire plot of the movie Dune. Like, everyone thinks you're either this or that. And this guy's just like, well, turns out you didn't understand what either of those were, because you can be both. And the person who's best at them knows that you can be both. And I'm seeing that a lot in life recently. You know, like introvert and extrovert. Like getting better at, traveling the world and talking to everyone is made me so full of ideas that my time alone is much more enjoyable. So I'm both better at an introvert and better at an extrovert.
Absolutely. And there's definitely people who lean more towards introvert than extrovert, and they'd rather spend the time alone at home in comfort. But because of all that time when they go out, it's almost more meaningful.
I thought about it, and it hit me at the core of what made that one date really awkward was you go on a date. You know what the most important question is, right? Tell me about yourself. So much has changed inside of me in the past 6 months, and it's such... I mean, we've talked about it. There's an entire segment of it where it's like, these are things that are physical and can't be put into words. So, like, I'm just holding on by my nails for just barely learning this shit. I can't explain it to another human at all. So, I'm deer in the headlights. I know who I am, but I can't tell another person about that yet. I'm figuring out how to put this into words still.
I would just say that, hey, I am currently on a self-exploration journey, and I'm drastically different than I was 6 months ago, and I'm still finding the answers and finding myself. That is such a more interesting answer than the elevator pitch of, I'm an accountant.
It's much more interesting. That is the most terrifying thing to a woman who wants to date you. Like, they've researched it, and literally you could actually be an ex-rapist murderer, and the fact you don't know who you are is more terrifying, and I hate it. Every single time I will talk to a guy and I will talk to a girl, and I will say something like, do you want the easy answer or do you want the actual truth? And they always say, I want the actual truth. And if you're not dating, you give them this answer where it's like, it's not neat and clean, and there's a part of, I actually don't know this part, but that's the full truth. They won't care. A girl who is interested in dating you hates that answer, gets actually angry at you for it. You cannot give that answer when there's any sort of like, there's some kind of weird reproductive primal thing going on. That
See, that just sounds like you dodged a bullet to me, that this is someone who's not going to be along for that ride and doesn't want you to change.
I don't think any woman is when it comes to like dating. I think it's full stop zero.
Naturally, we're all going to change over time with different experiences. Expecting me to be the same person 10 years down the line would be depressing as hell.
It is, but that's what you are primitively looking for. Like, there's certain things you're attracted to in a woman, and you're not responsible for that. It's just baked into you. And what women's attracted to in men, they're not responsible for that. It's just baked into that. But you're going to, like, go back to primitive, have a kid, be pregnant, not able to get food for yourself for a long time. You are stuck. You need a guy that's not changing. Because if he's changing, maybe he's going to change into someone who's going to go off and leave. The artist who, like, leaves his family. You starve to death. Your kid dies. It's pretty dang bad. So it's baked in that once you start thinking about sex, the guy being changing is really bad.
So maybe lean more into, here are my core values that unless something shakes me to the core, this is not going to change about me. One of the, I'll tell you this story. This is when I knew Ashlyn was going to be the one. And it happened within 3-4 months of us being together. She said that she would surprise me with a date, since I was normally the ones doing that, and I was in college at the time. I didn't have, finals were coming up, I didn't have as much time to plan dates, so she was going to surprise me with a date and have everything planned out. And what she decided to take me to for first part of the date was we went to a dog shelter, animal rescue shelter. And we just spent time with some of the dogs who were needing home. So we didn't adopt any dog. We didn't do anything like that. We were just helping care for them and make sure they were happy.
That sounds nice.
God damn it. If that doesn't tell me everything I need to know about you are a good person who cares for not just your fellow human beings and keep a child alive, but you care for every living animal and want to make it happy, that is all I need to know. That is not changing from you. If that changes, it's because you had a full psychotic breakdown, something fucking happened, and chances are we're both traumatized from it now.
But this is a solid part of who she is that you can count on.
Absolutely. End of the day, I know deep down she is that person.
And that's something that you like.
Absolutely. That is a value that I saw and went, holy shit. I respect the hell of that more than I respect myself. Absolutely. If she is foolish enough to be with me, I want to be with her for the rest of my goddamn life.
You respect that more than you respect yourself.
Absolutely. She is kinder towards every living thing than I am towards myself.
What things are you kind to?
I am not. I was not a good person. I have worked to become a better person for her, but at the time of that story, I would not classify myself as a good person.
So that's been kind of the influence she's had on you.
Absolutely. And I'm proud to say I've gotten better, but I'm still not as good as her.
That's kind of nice.
The fact that I have someone challenging me to get me to be better, I love her more than anything for that. And the fact that she accepts me, knowing that I am not as good as her with these things, and she doesn't even think about it that way. She just loves me for who I am and recognizes that I am trying to be better still, though. There's nothing like it.
This explains a couple things. I'm going to save that off camera, though.
That's why I am so confident in it.
What is the opposite? What is the influence, the positive influence that she gets from you?
She definitely struggles with confidence and putting herself out there, and I'm very fortunate and, well, I don't want to say fortunate. I grew up in a time period, not even a time period, I grew up with all my social media, everything. Social media, I didn't have it as a kid. It didn't exist.
Yep.
Grew up with TV shows like The A-Team, MacGyver, and they all have...
I don't understand how, but I know this is true.
They all have one common connecting thread. It always works out. Yes, it might not be perfect, it might not be pretty, but end of the day, the good guy's gonna win. Hogan's Heroes. Another one. Grew up with...
I'm not even old enough to see that show.
Oh my god, I have the box set on DVD. I fucking love that show. I've watched through it countless times.
Dude, we'll watch it someday. Let's do it.
Are you familiar with it at all?
Yeah.
So, the actor who played Commandant Klink, literally, in order to take the part and sign saying he would act and be in the show, his family escaped from Nazi Germany, and he said, I will do this on the single condition that the Nazis have to look like an idiot every single episode. You cannot make the Nazis ever look good. You can't make them look smart. You can't make any part of them look at all redeemably smart or good.
So no Hugo Boss.
No, you need to make sure we look stupid every goddamn time, because I fucking hate the Nazis. I have so much respect for that. Brilliant. And you can, after you pay attention to it, yeah, there's no part of their organization that looks at all I was going to say comprehensive, but that's not the right word. I can't think of the right one right now. Competent, thank you. Anyways, I got off topic. Shows like that where even though they don't have a plan necessarily, everything works out for them. And unfortunately, that has given me the same attitude in life where I don't necessarily need a plan. Shit will work out.
It turns out it often does. I was listening to an episode yesterday, and I heard the most weird-ass hippie thing, but when I heard it, it sounds like it's actually freaking true. That something about the universe rewards people for the more risks they take. You totally will do risky stuff and die and get hurt and stuff, but the amount that the odds seem to slant, it kind of doesn't look normal.
No, it doesn't. She looks at me, and before I went to Texas, like a week or two before, I went to tequila tasting. Great time. Ended up continuing down to a Mexican restaurant and bar in downtown Nashville. We racked up like $1,500 bar tab.
The hell?
Yeah.
How?
There was 10 of us.
Oh. So you went with like her and her friends?
Yeah.
And
No, she wasn't along with it. It was just me, and I met this group. 10 of us went to the bar afterwards.
Okay, I'm lost. Who are these people?
I didn't know them.
Okay.
I knew one guy there, and that was the rep who invited me. And we ended up racking up this crazy bar tab. The rep just business expense the whole thing. It was
Yep. I know those people.
yeah, it was great. Amazing time. Love it. Love the tequila. I'll bring you some. I met a different rep for the same brand, and he was there for all of 5 minutes. And he had a drink, so he was still good to drive. I had Ubered there because I figured there was no way in hell I was going to be okay to drive, but
Smart man.
I could have at that point. I've got a pretty damn high tolerance at this point. So I don't have a ride at this point, and just in talking with this guy, find out he's basically my neighbor. He lives 2-3 minutes away from me. So he decides he's going to give me a ride. Sure. Okay. Drives me, drops me off. All's good. I think about it the next day, and I got in a car with a man I met 5 minutes ago who I had seen with a drink. If I told this story with just that bit of information, people would be going, how the hell are you alive?
Yeah.
You should have been kidnapped. You should be on the next true crime podcast that your fiance is listening to. This does not sound like anywhere near a good idea on paper. But it worked out. And I'll probably continue to do things like that until it doesn't work out. And at that point, I'll stop because it didn't work out and I'm probably dead or kidnapped and who knows what.
But that's also like a real life that's lived.
Absolutely.
What's that weird phrase? It's not about, like, there's a lot of people who are not dead, but they're not living.
All men die, but few men truly live.
Yeah.
Braveheart.